All right, are we back? That set us back a few minutes. I'm not gonna extend the stream though. So at this point, I'm basically hoping that nobody joins because I would hate to be tempted to keep streaming. And the most tempting thing is to start having fun, especially right at the end. I'd feel bad that somebody had joined at the last second and got to miss out on any fun. But just to finish the thought, so in the last stream before everything started to go to shit, and it probably went to shit just enough to make it so that the stream itself was not making a whole lot of sense. Um, basically, uh, basically, I was talking about the shitstorm on mines. So most likely, a lot of trolls, I would think, but not, I would say, entirely trolls. Animals, nature's natural green energy. Why the heck am I carrying around all these crystals for? Let's make them into something useful. Um, but uh, really? You're gonna do this again, YouTube? Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what the heck is going on with YouTube, but it looks like it's still streaming. I just had to move around there because it says I'm not. It like literally stopped for a second there. I got no idea what the heck. Oh, now it's active again. We are professionals here, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to finish my freaking thought. Can things stop happening that are distracting me and keeping this thing going? Good lord. As I said in the previous stream, in case you did not hear it, I have to be up tomorrow. I gotta get ready. I gotta be on my best fucking behavior, my best flipping. I gotta go in ready. I gotta prove that I am the right candidate. That I absolutely am ready. I did this before, and I impressed last time. So I just need to not screw up. That's very much what I need to not do. Anyway, but yes, I have IRL things going on, so we're gonna do IRL things. So these things, I remember this operation. So we had the plates coming out here. We had the screws coming out here. The screws were going in here and making rotors, correct? Yes, correct. And so down this way, there should be rotors. Lots of rotors. Down this way, the rotors fuse with those to make smart plating. So let's feed the machine while we wait for that hard drive to decrypt. And I finished my dang thought. Okay, so I need about 200 smart plating, and I may have enough down there, to be perfectly honest. Um, yes. But as far as the mine situation goes, it breaks down into essentially three types. People who actually believe the shit, who are actually going around thinking they're traditional trad, ultra trad, Catholic trad holy warriors, and variations of troll. Either a troll that genuinely is just a troll, guys, and just, I just like watching the world burn. Her. Um, and semi trolls who, as I was explaining before, they actually are upset by the things that they claim not to be upset over, but they're going to pretend that it's just a big funny game to them. And these people exist, and they exist because it's like it's like the very online lefty people. I mean, if it can exist on the left side of the spectrum, it can exist on the right side of the spectrum. And there are basically very much the very online people, the too online people, you know, much too much online people who, um, they actually do get upset by the shit. It's just their coping mechanism is, it's just a big funny joke. It's all funny. Oh man, getting people banned. It's so funny, man. Oh man, you lost your account. Man, it's so funny. I'm a soy boy, and I think it's funny when I get people banned. But they actually do get genuinely upset. Like you can just imagine them sitting there in front of the computer when you're like, you're like Harry Potter's trash, and they actually just, you how dare you? How dare you? How dare you? J.K. Rowling may be a turf, but the Harry Potter book just still good. Report, 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 report. It's when your account gets banned and they can take a cap and take their little victory lap over you having actually upset them, which is actually more a trophy for you than it is for them. But why are these things here if I'm not using them? Am I wasting things? Why am I not? What am I even doing? What was I even doing? Squid. Or Richard, if you prefer. What the heck is your problem? You're wasting all of these resources. For what purpose? But yeah. If it can exist on the soy spectrum, trust me, it exists on the right-wing spectrum too. People who are probably actually genuinely upset that they saw a depiction of a fictional character, and instantly in their mind they think, this offends the Lord. This offends the Lord. It's upsetting my traditional Catholic values. Out. You're gonna go to hell. You made me look at that stuff. You're gonna go. You're burn in hell, you degenerate. There are probably people out there like that. But like I said, it's probably mainly trolls. Because unfortunately, lolicons are an easy target. And I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here. That little hiccup we had earlier wasted a lot of time that I was going to use to flesh out these thoughts before I went to bed. But alas, it does not seem that we're going to have too much of a chance to flesh these out. Maybe once I get the computer going, I'll do like a stream where I'll allow people to remind me of this and come back and reflect on it. But ultimately, the problem is Any excuses that people will try and make, besides the fact that they live in a dumbass area of the world that has made fictional depictions of things the same as the actual activity, right? So I don't know how many people are aware of this, but Germany's laws are pretty fucking stupid. I don't know if they changed them, but you may know, you may not know, or you may know of a certain series called Probotector. Now the thing is, Probotector, right, is um, a remake of a series you may have actually heard of called Contra. Now, why can't you play Contra instead of having to play Probotector in Germany? Because of stupid laws. Probably justifying themselves by something along the lines of, well, real depictions of violence cause people to become truly realistically violent. The Jack Thompson argument. Oh yes, if you play Call of Duty once, you'll become a murder machine. You know, you'll fucking paratroop onto the shores of Normandy on D-Day and start doing, you know, illegal things to the civilians and tourists, paying their respects to one of the greatest generations of our time. You know, because you can't tell the difference between reality and fantasy. You know, it's something straight out of fucking a Lifetime movie or fucking or other nonsense, an after school special or something. You know, it's like it's a weak argument and it's incredibly stupid. Because again, that so if we take out the it is illegal because my country is stupid argument, and that's really what it is. I'm sorry, but you're not going to win this one by saying, you know, yeah, well, my country is smart because we outlawed that stuff because we know the harm it can do to people. Oh, I'm sorry. Since some of it, I don't need to I don't need to just do it that way. You know, I recall isn't it in Europe? Certain major first world countries in Europe aren't they constantly pushing the lie that, you know, they're the same, the depictions are the same as having the real thing going on. So it'd be like, oi, oi, bruv, oi, bruv, it's the same, isn't it? It's the same as if you jumping you. It's the same as if you're having it all in and out with a real child. Oi, bruv, it's like you're doing a real illegal with the child. Simple as, in it. That's why we outlawed it, bruv. That's why we outlawed it, bruv. Bruv, that's why we outlawed it. That's why we got hate speech laws too. We need some hate speech laws so the peoples can't talk, make the joke about the Nazis, and if they does, then we gets another holy course, not like the Yanks say Holocaust, but holy cost. We don't want another Holocaust, bruv. So we need to make illegal the hate speech and all the depictions and other fictional things, bruv. But besides stupid laws, the arguments are very dumb, and they've been visited over our whole times, which basically means that you're talking to complete and utter idiots and retards. Because again, if we eliminate the pure troll, you're left with two people: the semi-trolls and the idiots, who basically fall into the same camp. It's just one is more diluted than the other, or the other is more diluted than the other. That could be a whole debate in and of itself. but the defenses are I suppose the attacks all depend on some seriously flawed reasoning and flawed rationale that does not hold up. Because again, as I was just making fun of there with the whole talk about hate speech and the and the whole reason that Probotector and whatnot exists, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Like Jack Thompson spent an entire career, years harassing companies, and it's kind of funny that this is coming up in the wake of Count Dankula releasing one of the videos of his Mad Lads series, and it was dedicated to Jack Thompson. By the way, go watch it. It's hilarious. This guy did a really good job, and it was just fascinating looking into the man's insanity. So I can make coal and iron ingots into solid steel. That's interesting. Instead of using what is it, coal and iron ingots. Fascinating. We have iron plate, bolted frame. So this is just a reinforced plate and screws, as opposed to what's the previous option? I think it's I think it's rods. Or stitched iron plate. That's interesting. Let's go with the bolted frame, because I think we're going to probably be needing frames from here on out. I was framed. I was framed. Tell you what. We're going to upgrade these last two things, and then we're going to get out of here. Because I really cannot stay here. I'm probably already well past the point where I should have left. That doesn't mean I'm going to be worse off for it, but realistically it means that I'm basically going to have to leave here, go to bed. Thankfully I'm already in my pajamas, but I should have left a while ago, to be perfectly honest. That's fine. I had fun. I hope you had fun listening to me make fun of these people who honestly believe this stuff. So let's finish the thought then. So some of the main attacks are either going to be that it results in illegal behavior, meaning that it encourages it, meaning that these people don't understand the difference between reality and fiction, and that your average person who is well adjusted, who is mentally well adjusted, is not going to have this problem. They're not going to have this problem precisely because of the fact that they understand the difference between reality and fantasy. So there's that. But good luck convincing idiots of anything, right? I need 50 rotors. Thankfully, I've automated all these processes. It's pretty cool. Rotors. It should be here, right? So the claim that it results in encouragement or giving people the idea is insane. Then I'll see you in hell.
Milestone reached. Several buildings aimed at factory traversal.
I wish I could think up more funny nuke lines because
Caution is recommended during
it would be funny to have been able to continue that series, but As you can tell, I'm out of lines that I know. Maybe if I have to restart, I'll do a thing where I go back and like, you know, I I redo with the nuke lines, and then each stage of development I'll use a different line um, until I get to the maximum. So I'd need however many upgrades there are. I mean, what are we looking at here? So theoretically, I can't look because, oh no, wait, I can. So we got 5, 6, 7, 8 tiers. I'm gonna assume there's 3. I don't know. There may be more. So let's see. There's a total of 8 tiers. Let's say average of 4 each. So let's just be on the conservative. Let's just be on the safe side and say 80. We'll go with 5 each tier at 8 tiers. So yeah, 5 times 8 is 40. So yeah, 40. We'll go with 40 lines. But yeah, so the argument that it causes behavior or inspires behavior is silly. Additionally, I swear I've seen people say that, you know, oh, people who genuinely have problems will seek this stuff out, and it will result in them going out and doing things. Again, a lame argument at best, because it doesn't make any sense. Again, we go back to the Jack Thompson argument. Well, people who have violent tendencies will, you know, they'll want to go out and they'll play these games, and playing these games they'll lose sight of what's real, and then they'll start not being satisfied with the fantasies, and so they'll actually have to go out and do the stuff in order to feel satisfied, and blah 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 blah. It's like, no, not really. And I mean, you have a really dim view of humanity if your belief is that. Like, I have a dim view of humanity. I think there's a lot of people out in this world. Stop. See, there's my bedtime alarm. Oh, we did a little bit of exploring. We found some cool stuff though. That's kind of fine. I mean, I guess, you know. Let's do a little bit more exploring. 10 more minutes. 15 at the most. Anyway, but yeah, so the argument, and again, I really wish that I'd had more time to really flesh this out. Although to be perfectly honest, there's probably people that have taken this to task and really just torn apart all the arguments. And you know, it's kind of, what was it? Was it Mark Twain that said, "Don't argue with stupid people, because they will drag you down to their level every time and then beat you with experience." Because realistically, that's what we're looking at for people who are genuine and unironic about, you know, this belief that it's either, you know, the depictions themselves are essentially as if they were actual depictions of real things, not quite realizing or being able to handle the counterpoint that why is it that you can go watch Star Wars then and not try and, you know, use a sword to chop, you know, red horned people in half, you know, a la Darth Maul. Is that a fucking cat? Looks like a cat. It's a thick boy. Look, you can see. So let me trace it where the cursor is pointed. You got the ears, face, front, There's his little paw there. He's kind of got his legs hunched up under him. Bottom of the belly. His rump. Back. So you see he's kind of scrunched up a bit. His tail poking out. Or maybe this is his tail here poking this way. Alright, I'll stop being weird like that. But yeah, so it's but I just want to say my piece on this for my sake, because even though it may be stuff that keeps getting repeated and people never fucking listen, and they never will, at least this way people who are reasonable can hear the arguments, and you know they'll be ammoed. The thing, because I think ultimately the only thing you can do with stupid people is get them to self-quarantine. And so I guess if you can get everyone to think that everyone is degenerates, and oh, you're all just disgusting, you know, defenders of this stuff, and I'm just gonna block everybody out, block, 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 you're all blocked. Maybe that's fine. Or at least you prevent people from being convinced by their bad and fallacious argument. And again, they are bad and fallacious arguments. Because that right there, the whole oh, it'll lead to illegal behavior. It's like, show me anything else that does that. It's like most of the time those people had something wrong with them to begin with. Like a person who genuinely cannot tell the difference between video games and reality and handle themselves accordingly probably has a long string of behavioral issues. A long string of behavioral issues. It's not like they woke up one day, you know, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and then be like, you know, oh man, you know, it's like I'm really in Autismo Factory. Or it would be, why didn't I just build a freaking foundation across this? Why did I use the conveyor belt? Well, whatever. I'm just exploring today. I'm going to have to come back and redo a lot of this stuff, because having been gone away from it for long enough, I'm now looking at it and being like, eesh. We can do a lot of restructuring. At least we got iron ore. We can build an expansion base here, maybe. Something. Looks like a nice spot. So the illegal behavior is one bad argument. It's illegal. Well, that's your problem. It depends on where the server is centered, because it's like if I open my own similar, social media service and I say, hey, I'm operating under the law of the Constitution of the United States, such as it should be, not as political opportunists want to interpret it, where it's a consequentialist instead of an absolute, meaning basically when they say stuff like, we should allow women and the right to vote and slavery is illegal. It's not like, yeah, but what did the people who wrote that law mean by it? I mean, does that mean like all kinds of slavery? Or does that just mean like the kind of slavery that they thought people shouldn't have specifically? So, indentured servitude is not mentioned specifically. I don't know if that's actually a thing. If it is, don't friggin' come at me with actually, it specifically says indentured servitude as well. I'm not trying to argue constitutional law here. I'm using an example. And yes, you can complain that it's a bad example, but but the point is, the consequentialists, I think it's called consequentialism, would argue that sort of thing. Like, yeah, but did it really mean all women? Or just like a specific type of woman? And, if you happen to be, say, a woman below the income level of, $30,000 a year, then you technically don't count. I mean, what did they mean by equal suffrage? Maybe Maybe they didn't know what they were talking about, that sort of thing. In that instance, I would be like, the constitutional law says that this, and this is allowed. I don't care if you don't like it, go somewhere else. Deal with it. But Squid, I want to be part of this experience, and you're preventing me from being part of this experience by allowing people to do things that I don't like. And no, no. Right there's the problem. Right there's the problem. This platform does not exist for you to be coming in and trying to be a bully and force people to behave in ways that please you. Because ultimately, it's not even about the people's behavior, it's about you being a petty little tyrant. Oh man, I'm gonna force people to conform to my way because I'm an intolerant asshole. Fuck right off with that shit. Fuck right off with that shit. But yeah, it's so so if we're gonna be free speech, we need to be free speech. And it's the funny thing is like, I believe that they've done enough to basically prevent people from having to see stuff. Like, here's the thing that probably not a lot of idiots know, and probably a lot of idiots slash trolls will ignore, because again, it's not about the behavior, it's about them being petty little tyrant dickheads. They want to be hall monitors. That's their ultimate aim. They want to be the hall monitors so they can force everyone. When someone's walking a little quickly in the hall, they can say, "Hey, hey, hey, slow down, slow down, slow down. I will report you to the principal. Slow it down. Don't let me catch you running in the hall again." It's just about, and it's the same thing with like Twitter and all these social justice circles. It's these people wanting to get in and set up these fucking maze-like, the sort of social norms that they would try and force you to be in is an even bigger fucking maze than this entire facility. Like, by comparison, this facility is pure and straightforward, you know, as opposed to being in any of those justice, circles. And I would just straight up call anybody that's, again, literally not a troll, but a semi troll or a fucking or a true believer. I would put them in the same boat as social justice warriors, because it's the same mentality. Again, it's wanting to be the hall monitor, wanting to set the rules, wanting to tell everybody what they can and can't do, and they will never be fucking satisfied with it, because eventually the hit will wear off and they'll need another hit. And when they need another hit, everyone's going to pay for it. Like copper sheets, huh? So yeah, the consequences of the people can't be allowed freedom because the freedoms will invariably result in abuses argument is very, very weak at best. Because it's like, I remember a phrase that I think it was one of these atheist types said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. And there probably are no studies, because I'm sure enough money has been wasted trying to prove to these idiots, who basically can never have it proven to them. Again, talking about idiots and people who need their justification. Um, Concrete and plates. Do I have any of those though? What was the other type though? What's the other typical argument? That its behavior can lead to encouragement of the real behavior. And honestly, I think that's probably the number one and the one that they use variations of, but it's ultimately the same thing. Well, it's just as bad and it's bad for you because, it'll encourage you to start thinking bad ways and bad things, and we don't want you thinking bad ways or bad things and blah 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 blah. So I need 121. The whole trad thing, the this offends, I shouldn't be allowed thing. That's a weak argument because it's like, who cares? You're not in charge of what other people do. I think this was one of the arguments that I'd really basically been thinking over and considering, was that, who cares? It's, if somebody wants to indulge in that entertainment, and that entertainment does not require the direct harm of an unwilling party, then what business is it of yours? What business is it of yours? I drink it up.
Incorporated has processed and incorporated frequent Pioneer requests for pipe-based personal transport. Introducing Hypertubes. Safe, aesthetic, adaptable, fun. Enjoy a view of your hard work.
It's a series of
through
tubes.
incredibly tight turns. Build them today. Note: Fixit Incorporated is not responsible for any harm caused by irresponsible use of this product.
Right, so that's that. Okay, that's done. Well, I'm gonna get out of here. But so again, I guess I'll leave on that thought, as it's like, because it's probably the other variation. You'd hear variations of arguments and things, and so because one, literally it's fiction, and it is. I'm sorry, I don't care how red in the face you get, what names you call me, what, oh, you're one of those, you're a coomer or something like that. It's like, yeah, I'm a lewd poster. I don't fucking care. I don't, my world does not revolve around your approval, nor does it revolve around the approval of social justice warriors. Although I would essentially again put the so-called SJWs, and most people think of lefties, extremist lefties, when they think of social justice warrior. I would put them and the constituent other side in this, but it's just ultimately who cares what you want? If people are indulging in this material, so long as one, the creation of the material does not require the unwilling and abusive and illegal involvement of another party. Meaning, I swear there was one actual artist that was rumored to have used like real references of actual illegal materials, and I don't know if that was just rumors started by somebody who was trying to character assassinate this person, because there's probably a lot of that too, just jealousy between artists, and somebody's like, hey, did you know this person used illegal material, and it references to illegal material? Like, I'd need to see proof before I believe that, because the internet is full of people who love to tell stories. That being said, if that person did, they can fucking go to hell, because that is one thing that crosses the line, and one that I would agree on, but that's purely a hypothetical. We can't just go around presuming, well, if it could happen for that one person, then we have to default to the belief that everybody. No, 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 no. What you're doing there is you're using a example that may or may not have happened. And if it did happen, then it should be confined to the one. You're basically you're doing the all men thing that the rad femmes do, where they say, well, if one man attacks a woman, and sexually molests her, then obviously every man has the potential to do it. And because every man has the potential to do it, every man should be treated as if they did it. And it's like if we presumed that, yes, as a matter of fact, it could be that that a artist had actually done that, and again, fuck that person if they did. But I'll wait to see some conviction. I'll wait to see some fucking proof. Wait for them to admit it. Don't hold your breath on that. If the person had actually done it, they're probably never going to admit it. If they're smart, because that means that they're a criminal, they'd probably know they're a criminal. And one thing criminals don't like is going to jail. So, even though, I would definitely not argue that person, had they done it, does not deserve to go to jail. But we can't treat everyone that way. So even if it had happened, that's one instance that has to be dealt with on an instance by instance basis. I'm sorry that reality is like this, that living a free world is like this, and there's probably people out there that would hear this argument and then be like, man, well, fuck freedom then. If your freedom means that people can do things that are not state approved, or not approved by the church, or not approved by whatever, if somehow man can make mistakes, then he should not be allowed to make any choices, because we all have to be these perfect beings that never make mistakes. I'm sorry. No, people are not criminals until they become criminals, which is a stupid sounding statement, but it's like, there's probably a lot of philosophers out there that have talked about this, pre-crime and whatnot. We can't engage in pre-crime. Again, it's going back to the, all men thing. It's like, oh, well, one man attacked a woman, even if you went statistically and said, okay, worldwide, this is how many men attack women, and so let's set the number at ridiculously high, at something like 500,000. I think that's probably ridiculous worldwide for assaults on women, that sort of thing, sexual assaults on women. But let's say it is something high like that. Let's say it's something higher. Let's say it's 1 million or whatever. It's like, all of those people should be punished. All those million people should be punished. I should not be punished because I have not done anything to anybody. Besides maybe having been a bad boyfriend at times. I'm a fucking nerd. Being kind of autistic and forgetting fucking birthdays, and forgetting, being kind of distant and emotionally unavailable because I get fucking nervous. You don't need to hear my dating stuff. That's probably the worst thing that I've done as far as being a boyfriend goes. Now, all that being said, that does not mean that even for my faults, I should be punished for something that somebody else does as essentially as a pre-crime sort of thing. So, whereas, again, you can say that, yeah, maybe this one person did something that is highly illegal, and that I don't think anybody would make any defenses for, except maybe a complete and utter moron, because there are more ethical implications to that material than just the mere possession of it. And man, it's times like this that I'm glad I'm generally a relative nobody, because I could just imagine fucking BreadTube or somebody trying to be like, jump in and be like, "Ah, well, here's the ethical argument for possession of that material and why ultimately it's harmless, and oh, we're smart. We're so smart we huff our own farts." I I just I would honestly react to being like big brained on that topic with, the fuck is your problem? Because I'm not like Sargon or any of these other people who would patiently dismantle the arguments and be like, or any of those other people, but Sargon in particular, because I consume a lot of Lotus Eater stuff this day, would be like carefully tearing apart the argument, like, this is why the material is unethical, because here's the reason for this, here's the reason for that, the creation of the material required the abuse of a person directly, or, Louis or whoever else. It's like, and then just to completely just have to take to task this completely idiotic argument that's like, well, maybe there is ethical blah 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 creation of that stuff, and I'm like, no, 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 no. There's no ethical creation of specifically illegal material. But the law argument is, it's not. I think that's probably another thing that I really kind of want to do a little longer. Maybe on Monday or something, or Tuesday, I'll do a long stream, and I'll ask people to remind me if they want to hear this topic expanded on. But basically it'll probably just be expanding upon these thoughts at length. But the problem isn't morality. The problem isn't how ethical the material is, and that's why it's illegal. The problem is that the specifically that level of illegal material requires the violation of another person's rights and integrity, and honestly does, and it's been documented that this sort of abuse does damage to people for the rest of their lives. Like, I know, like, even dudes, we joke around like about the Shota thing. We're like, haha, man, I wish I had a hot teacher that would have, ha 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 ha. We, because people will make the jokes about these, these female teachers that actually do this stuff IRL in there. And there will always be some jackass who makes the joke, and I hope it's just gallows humor. I hope it's just dark and black humor. It probably is. But there's always the joke made, where was this teacher? And but it's like, statistically there's a good chance that those people are going to end up fucked up for the rest of their lives, even if it was a consensual or what they thought of as a consensual relationship. Because later on they may just turn around and think to themselves, you know what, I was dumb, I was young, and I can't get these memories out of my head. I don't want the memories of all of the shit that was going on, all of the ways I felt, all of the things that were going through my mind, and where I was at emotionally, and where I can't get out of now. And essentially I'm just trapped this way for the rest of my life. That right there, okay, fine, let's just do a little bit more exploring. Fuck, I gotta go to bed though. But I want to finish this thought because I think I'm on a good tangent. But it's just like, that right there is the reason that the material is outlawed. Because it requires the destruction of another person's integrity, emotions, mentality. It leaves them with scars that they'll never fucking recover from. We have physical assault illegal. If you walk up and punch somebody, or you murder somebody, the reason isn't it's illegal because we just don't like it. That's an idiot's understanding to why we have rules and law. The reason is because that activity requires someone else's the violation of somebody else's rules and rights. Now, one can suspend personally when they are able to make decisions, when they are able to understand the process. One can consent. You know, um, Q making fun of Sargon, the misquote where people allege that Sargon was saying, oh, it depends on the child, or whatever it was. The one that tries to make him sound like he's a bit of a, one of them IRL lolly fans. But no, it goes beyond, simply something like that. But one has to be able to understand the process and what's going on, and then one can consent. So let's not even talk about sex. Let's talk about something like fighting, right? So a kid who's not yet of age, who does not understand the processes. Is that a slug? No, I'm seeing things. I'm too fucking tired right now. I gotta go to bed. But once somebody is able to... Well, these are cool. Have I been here before? It's been so dang long. I can't remember anything. I don't remember where I've been. Well, there's no beacons out here. The cave. No, we're not going in it. We're going to grab this mushroom, though. Yeah, we might have to come back here. Do a little bit of exploring up in that cave. Or have we been there? I don't fucking know. We'll just do a circle of this valley, get back, and then get the heck out of here. But yeah, again, it requires a little bit more than just quote unquote being able to say I consent. One has to be able to understand the process. Like again, fighting. One may understand the basics of fighting. As a child might. One may even understand, other specific and key aspects of that sort of thing. But not having the experience to appreciate all of the situation, all of the competing and all of the converging aspects as an adult, when our brains are formed and we have gained enough sufficient experience to at least have some understanding of the actions, the consequences of the actions, all of that sort of stuff. All right, there's a yellow slug out here, but we're not going to mess with that. We're going to get back. We're going to end the stream very soon. Is that the way back? No, I'm going the wrong way. But yeah, suffice to say, to wrap that point up in a nice little bow. Can I pick him up? Well, I guess I'll take him then. Okay, which way? I came in this way, I think. Gotta get back. Gotta save the game. Gotta call it a morning. Got big things to do tomorrow. I don't want to fuck them up by playing fucking Autismo Factory. But yeah, there are reasons I think that are beyond people, and again, it's stupid. Like I could argue this point with people all day and basically break it down why there is a difference between things that should be illegal as agreed upon by everybody else, and things that idiots feel should be morally outlawed because it offends them. It's a difference. And honestly, that's probably one of the things that pisses me off about unironic anti-lolly types is the constant pushing down of the issue from, things are illegal because again they violate the rights, integrity, body, mind, emotions, what have you, of another person. Oftentimes, when they are outright unwilling or unable to properly consent, it's like it sickens me, honestly, more than than any sort of moral thing upsets them, to have people essentially bring the argument down from, things. We have laws against things because those things, when they are violated, need to be answered for. A person who, it's not because it offends me when somebody attacks a woman. It's because that person attacking that woman, um, has violated that woman's rights. Now, if they were doing some sort of play, because that's a messy conversation in and of itself, but let's just say that the sexuality of women is kind of fucked up at times. Kind of fucked up. Now, before some idiot construes it, I am specifically talking about play here, where a consenting woman has made very clear her desire to engage in this specific type of play, and a consenting male, having been made fully aware that this is simply play and is most likely a known party or partner to her or whatever, if you want to play these games with strangers, that's ill-advised, but I can't control other people and what they do. In the instance where someone wanted to play in that specific manner as a fantasy, like, oh hey, here's the, we're gonna go into the bedroom, right, and I'm gonna pretend like you just followed me home and I forgot to lock all my doors, and you came in and you were like, hey baby, I followed you all the way here from the bar. And I'm like, oh no, don't do the thing. And and you got to remember your safe words if you want to play the crazy games. So always make sure you know your safe words. So if you start saying like applesauce, whatever, he knows. Okay, that's it. We're calling it quits on this. Applesauce means I stop. We stop the game. We all cool down. We relax. We whatever. Engaging in play. That means that means being responsible, right? Different. And it may offend me very much if someone is like into something like NTR play. That's because that could be something that I feel very strongly is just disgusting. If you're into cuckolding, simulated or real, ugh, not my thing. Do I think it should be made illegal? No, not really, because that's a choice preference. That's a choice preference for me. I'm like, I got nothing there for me. I'm not going to enjoy it. But if you want to be a cuck, you want to find yourself a nice bull and have him do things to your wife in front of you because that's you and your wife's thing, you consenting adults, whatever. Don't care. Don't involve me in it. But you're free to do whatever the hell you want. Again, it's different than if some guy like legitimately, like straight out of an 80s movie or 80s video game, like just straight up kidnaps the guy's wife and just goes to town with him and a bunch of other guys, and then they kidnap the dude and they violate her in front of him, all that good stuff. And it's just like, again, that would go beyond simply distaste. Like, I would find both situations distasteful, but I would be more than willing to agree that the second situation is illegal because, again, it is a violation of a person's rights and integrity. If the man and the woman had consented with the party, knowing full well what was going on, what was going to happen, all that good stuff, okay, whatever. But all of that being said, there is a clear difference and divide between what is illegal because it in a functioning society we need things to be made clear that they are not to be done, and that those who cannot or will not understand that well, I want to do it anyway, or I've given myself some sort of rationale where that's not good enough, but they still do it anyway, that those people will now be punished for violating the laws of the land. You know, again, it's because people are always gonna be like, well, you know, I wanted to, I just wanted to, I just wanted to. You know, it's that's a greater conversation. And again, we can, you know, maybe someday we'll have a stream about that, and I'll just talk about all these different topics, because this is really a huge philosophical conversation and a difference that I have philosophically with a lot of other people. But that being said, I'm gonna wrap the stream up here pretty darn quick, because holy crap, I've been going for almost an hour just trying to finish this point. I really wish the thing had not crashed earlier. That way I wouldn't have ended up trying to restart my train of thought and then fucking getting inspired and going off on a little bit of a tangent there. But yeah, the it offends me. That's not enough. There's plenty of things that offend people that should not be made illegal. You know, fart jokes. The odor of farts are offensive, but you know, if somebody wants to play a joke, you know, get a little bit of can of that fake fart spray, you know, and as long as they're not violating people, you know, we could make the argument that maybe that is a violation, you know, whatever. People want to outlaw comedy, so you know that might be a really long conversation, and one I don't want to get into here because I'm trying to wrap this whole thinking up. But consent, legality, morality, ethics, on a number of things, these are losing arguments for the people who would dictate to us and others how to behave. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not even necessarily so much about the behavior itself, although it may partially be, but it is more about the mentality of the sort of person who needs to control other people. That's what they enjoy. That's what gets them off. That's, you know, that's their draw, you know, in life. That's what they want to do. They want to control people. They want to push people around. They want to dictate to people how to behave, how to act, what is proper, what is, etc., 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 etc. There's a lot, you know, going on there, but none of it is about the issues that are being pushed. Because, you know, for the people that are actually legitimately trying to, or legitimately believe the shit, where they're like, it's offensive to my trad morals. Again, it's like, who the fuck cares? Nobody fucking cares. It's not up to you. If two people are consenting to things that you don't like, that's your problem. Deal with it. But not like this. I mean, deal with it as in take a long walk off of a fucking short pier, you jerk. Because that's all you are. You're a fucking jerk. You know? And I suppose I'll close up on this thought, because let's just assume that it's just a general war against lewd posters, and it isn't specifically about this one case, although it seems to be about a certain one person who was posting this sort of content. If it is a general rule, a general fucking, like, a war that people are raging against fucking lewd posters in general, not just specifically this specific type of lewd content. If it's not just about lolicon, but it's about lewd posters in general. I don't. Well, free speech doesn't include pornography. I don't want to come in and see like anime titties on my feed. What's up, guys? I don't want to see that. I shouldn't have to come in and see that content. I mean, well, technically, and here's the funny thing. Technically, I would agree with you. If you don't want to see that content, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. Here's the funny thing, and where I think this is a great place to wrap it up on. So, Minds actually already does that. Yeah, actually already does that. So what happens on Minds, so far as I know, I'm going to go grab that green slug and then we're going to end it. Not my life, the stream. We're going to run back to base with the green slug and call it a day. But for those who would try and use that angle to say, well, I don't want to come in and see, you know, I don't want to come in and see anime titties on my feed, and you know, I don't want to see pornography, and I don't want to see people doing the naughty. Stole it from right under your noses. You guys aren't even paying attention. Minds agrees with you. As a matter of fact, they actually fully thought ahead on this topic. And they said, you know what? So you got to tag certain posts NSFW. You do. Like, I try and do my best to tag my posts as not safe for work, so as to just be as a thing, as a kindness to people who don't want to see that sort of material. So it's like, post is marked not safe for work, it gets blurred. People don't have to see, you know, very scantily clad, very lewdly dressed, very pushing the line sort of material as far as, you know, how clothed a woman, a female character is. If you can even describe scraps covering only the merest, you know, and blah. If you could even call that clothing, like, you know, okay, that's fine. You don't want to see that? It's marked NSFW, so you don't have to see it anymore. So if a person, again, this is my understanding of Minds. If a person, they don't tag their posts enough, they can be reported. If they're reported enough times, what happens is they basically have their account set to NSFW permanently, which means their account is permanently quarantined in the not safe for work category. Problem solved. There is no necessity for a fucking war, a trad war against even specifically the lolly posters. Because if you see not safe for work material, you know, if it's something a little bit more than cute girls doing cute things, you know, it's and honestly, there's something fucking wrong with you if you're seeing a little girl, you know, and she's not in some kind of a lolly. Let's make a difference there, because you know, there's people that love to take these things out of context. Specifically, a completely 100% fictional, legal under the protected free speech laws, character that would be classified as the lolly type. And the funny thing is those characters don't even actually have to necessarily be what a lot of people allege of as depictions of children. I'll throw this one in there really quick. I once dated a woman with 3 kids, and she was like, fucking what, 4 foot something? I mean, I was a full maybe 2 heads above her, so she'd be like 4, mid 4, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but she was tiny. No breasts. I mean, basically, her body had hit puberty and was like, we'll give you a few things, but otherwise Sorry, fuck you, lady. Like it's it was almost like the anime trope of the old woman, or the mother. Typically it's like a mother character where she's like a lolly character, but it's the joke is she's a mother or grandmother or aunt or something like that, or big sister. But it's funny because the character, it's the juxtaposition. It's classic humor trope juxtaposition. It's what appears to be a little girl, but it's actually like an older woman or an older female of some kind. Fuck, this is going on way too long. I gotta finish this. Okay. So finishing this thought. So all things considered, um, fuck, fucking, I can't. I'm trying to finish this thought. I talked myself into a corner, so it's like I don't want to keep talking. I don't want to keep expanding on this idea. But on the other hand, it's like there's so much to go on there. But it's like, okay, I'm just gonna rewind and try and go back from there so that I don't have to try and go off of this point. So even if it was specifically about that material that you didn't want to see, um, you're basically your argument would probably be, well, I don't want to see depictions of those style of characters engaged in sexual or sexually compromising situations. Okay, that'll be fixed automatically anyway by mines. So the over time, the people who post NSFW content are going to end up quarantined anyway. So no worries there. Congratulations, your wish is granted. Ottman thought of this, and you're never going to have a problem. You're never going to have a problem with that. Um, so then the next thing would be like, well, I don't want to see any lolly content at all, be it safe for work or otherwise. And then it's like, well, hold on. All right, so I know, I know one thing that I've actually seen funny, and it's great because it's almost like a crucifix, like a holy cross for the vampire that is normies, and that is lolly feet. Now, feet fetish people are weird enough as is. Not my thing. Again, going back to the argument that I'd been participating in before, not my thing. I find it kind of weird and kind of gross. But you know what? If that's your thing, go ahead. Cool. Whatever. Go find yourself a woman who wants, or a man, or whatever. Consensual relationship is all I ask. Doesn't matter who it is. You could be some kind of weirdo that likes, old man feet. Your thing is, I like, oh man, the older and the cruddier and the grosser the guy is, that something about that does it for me. And so I'm like, I see this old guy hobbling down the street, and I'm like, I want to stick those in my mouth. I'm probably gonna be gagging and throwing up, and like, dude, stay the fuck away from me. What is your problem? But oh hey, there's cool stuff up here. But I'm just exploring, just kind of running around right now. I'm not actually trying to find stuff. Um, that being said, why are there bees down there? What is that? Oh, just light. That being said, it's like, if the lolly feet, if it's just something weird like fucking two. So the crucifix that I had seen was just literally just pictures of feet. It's just what it was. It was literally just pictures of feet, little girl feet, quote unquote lolly feet, whatever. Not, you know. So again, so long as it's not crossing a line, and I would say crossing a line would be depictions of real little girl feet, real feet, and all that good stuff. Because again, it falls down to a situation where one has a problem believing that consent could be made, and so I'm not going to go back into the arguments, but I've made them where it's like ethically you can't say that consent was given, and that material may be damaging to a person later on. So no, we can't be like, well, it was just licking it was just licking a girl's feet. I don't see what's wrong with that. If it crosses over to the IRL, we have a discussion to be had. But that's something that I've already very thoroughly set up. But if it's just weirdness, no, I have, especially if it's again fictional. Like if it's two lolly characters sucking on each other's toes or something weird and gross like that, I don't care. No, not illegal. Fictional depiction. But you don't have to see that because I would almost be willing to put money, big money down on the fact that any person posting that sort of content is probably going to get marked not safe for work sooner than later. And they're probably going to be happier because they're not going to interact with as many people. You'd literally have to turn off the NSFW filter through intentional means. And if you do that, if you evade the NSFW filter, then that puts the situation on you. I think that's a good place to close up. But I will point out a funny similarity in my from my memories of Le Gamergate. I remember there was one of the would-be want to be celebrity victims who wanted to be the new feminist icon in the trash fire that was Gamergate celebrity, who at one point was talking about harassment and was talking about the fact that so many accounts were being shadow banned or were being like muted essentially. And her claim was more or less that I need to see these things because I need to catalog and report them. And honestly, what a completely silly thing to... Well, first off, I don't believe that there was actual legitimate threat being made. There's probably a lot of trolling, a lot of memes, but let's say that there was somebody who was honestly, seriously trying to say things, fucked up things to get a reaction, to intimidate, to make this person feel unsafe and unwelcome. Well, if that person can't communicate those things to you, they're probably going to give up. At the very least, you won't have to be disturbed by the knowledge that had been said. So the same thing here. And in fact, it would seem that the same argument would have to be made. Well, it's not enough that I can't not see the material, because I have to see the material. So we need to tear down the NSFW block. We need to activate NSFW so that we can go hunting for this material because it bothers us. No fucking sense. And again, as I said at the very beginning of this discussion before the stream went to hell, we're talking about people who are most likely trolls, because it's going to be very difficult for anybody to come out and defend Lolicon. I'm sorry, it's just the facts of it, because Louis Levi recently did. Well, I say recently, but I think it was like a year or more ago, where he was essentially deconstructing in the way that I am, but in a much better way, the discussion about oh, you lolly, gross, no, people shouldn't, much generosity, all that good stuff. And did a very, very admirable, much better job than I can. Much better job than I ever probably could, unless I expanded this into like 2 or 3 hour stream. I'm not going to do that. It's already become a 2 hour stream, and it was supposed to be like a quick 30 to 40 minute stream. But I just need, I just need to get these thoughts out of my head, or I won't be able to go to sleep. And that's being out a little bit of sleep is better than going into the interview with no sleep. Fucking, yeah. That being said, yeah, the arguments are basically really lame, and ultimately, I think that's probably one right there where you realize that the people are being disingenuous, because it's like if you've already enabled the NSFW filter, you're probably going to be exposed at some point to things you don't want to see anyway. That's a risk you take. You have to be accountable for yourself at some point. And I think that's a great way to put a fucking bow on it and everything else and wrap the whole damn conversation up before I fucking get pulled into a long ass discussion. A rant, a ramble, anything longer than I've done right now. Ultimately, the responsibility falls on you, and ultimately, the responsibility falls on everybody else. And you take a very dim view on humanity if you are going to be saying we can't trust people to handle themselves, and so rather than allow people freedoms, which people will use to do things that I don't approve of, we must restrict all freedoms unless it pleases the Holy Church of Social Justice, or my Holy Catholic Church, or my Christian Protestant Church, or my whatever denomination of this and that and this and the other. Like, the responsibility falls on you at some point. And the reactions like this, ultimately, to me, always seem to reek of a lack of personal responsibility on the people, and possibly of some demons in the closet. It reeks a little bit too much to me of the male feminist who turns out to be a sex pest, and this trope has happened again and again and again. Like the Catholic preacher who is anti-gay, who turns out to be molesting altar boys. The Christian Protestant, or whatever denomination of Christianity, pastor who is blah blah blah, and he ends up it ends up being found out that he's going to Thailand and participating in the night scene with a certain type of yeah. I don't even need to explain that thought. There's just too many examples out there of this sort of thing happening. But that's what it reeks to me of. It's like I don't recall what the heck's the guy's name is. He was one of those wannabe right-wing alt-right East celebs, fucking cat boys, dude. I don't know what his stances on degeneracy before he got found out and outed were, but I mean, it seems that the more things change, the more they stay the same. You got, and it would be perfect if the guy had come out strongly against degeneracy and talking about how, we need morals in America to restore America. We need morals. We need, good church values. We need the return of the nuclear family. We need this, that, and the other. We need this, that, and the other. And have all that, and have the guy, turn out, when he's not being a manlet hiding behind a green screen, he's out fucking talking to these boys who wear cat ears, the cat boys, and he's out hanging out, having a nice dinner and a nice date with these. it would just be so perfect because, again, like I said, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And I think that is the perfect bow, so I can get the fuck out of here. Well, if you were wondering about the other stuff I was talking about, you can check out the previous stream before it crashed. Hopefully it didn't get corrupted when YouTube crashed. This one has just been basically me expanding my thoughts on the whole question of the supposed lewd war going on. Assuming that my understanding of it is what it is. But yeah, that's basically it. And why there are moral and ethical objections people could make to the people trying to enforce their moral and ethic code on lewd posters, or a very specific type of lewd poster. RC Cola. Yeah, but that'll do it. I think I've thoroughly explained my stance. And like I said, if there's anything I haven't been able to flesh out here, my disagreements with the goings on, it'll probably have to be for a much larger stream, because I'm sure there's probably people out there that may hear my thoughts and be like, well, yes, but isn't there this problem that you didn't address? Isn't there this problem you didn't address? I'd say overall, if there is anything that I have not addressed in specific, you can safely presume that where something crosses over from being fantasy to involving real things, real people, real acts, then it must be consenting. That we have reasons for that we follow laws. We have reasons that we have laws and we follow them, that are more than just it is something I find distasteful. That the laws do not exist to try and create morality. That they do not exist to try and create ethically correct people. They exist as essentially agreements. Hey, don't do these things. Everyone is this is the law of the land, and you will obey the law of the land, because we have we have decided that this is probably better off. Things are better off this way. Like if there was some something like, again, prohibition, we're already seeing the erosion of like anti-marijuana laws, and the erosion of other laws, that are more or less just about policing people's behavior and a type of person that people are allowed to be, rather than the actions of a person. That, again, the standard, I think, probably best being, does it violate the law's integrity, emotion, mental, physical, what have you? Does it violate any of the integrity of another person in one way or another? And if it does, then we have a conversation about it, But if it doesn't, and with, again, fictional characters, there is no person. There is no person involved. There is no person being harmed. And it's like, it's funny because I'm not necessarily entirely absolutist on this either, which is funny because there people out there would be like, well, Squid, you're just a coomer, you're just one of these people, you just want people to be able to do whatever. It's like, no, I'm kind of actually on one specific point. I am kind of I'm like, there is some sort of discussion to be had there on limitations, and that is the talk about realistic depictions. And I'm talking about realistic in a way that you could not tell it was not an actual person. It looks And I'm not talking about like your basic bitch Blender or fucking what do they call that? Poser, 3D Poser Studio. You know, those models that are, you know, they're kind of good for cheap fucking software, you know, mass produced models. Or maybe people make custom rigs. I don't know how that goes, but I'm sure you've seen quote unquote 3D porn out there that uses a suite of software called Poser, and it's always at the same quality. Um, but yeah, there may be a discussion to be had there where I would where we would have to have a serious discussion. I think when it got to the point where it was, you know, completely undiscernible from realistic or real depictions, you know, real actual criminal fucking disgusting illegal material. There may be a discussion to be had there. Because I remember somebody once saying that, you know, with the resolutions of a monitor, you could set up a computer program, right? Where all it would do is it would just go through the pixel combinations forever. Basically like the 10 million monkeys typing on a keyboard thing, but a little bit more di- direct and disciplined. Because what you see on the monitor is a combination of red, blue, and green, and it's just changed. And then it's just a discussion of pixels. So, you know, you're talking a big monitor, you're talking about 2000 by 4000 or something like that. So if you flick each pixel on and off, you will get a different image. Like what you're looking at right now, if you reversed some of the colors, changed some of the contrasts, and changed you know, a few other things, you wouldn't be looking at Satisfactory. You'd be looking at Call of Duty. You know, as far as the monitor is concerned, that's the only real difference. It's just the pixels in the lower middle area of the screen are arranged so that, you know, in this lower left area there it looks like a gray gloved hand, and starting from the lower right area to the closer to mid upper right there appears to be a gray sword. But change enough pixels and you did it's so. And so the point is, when somebody had brought that up, I don't know what their discussion on it was, but I was like, man, you would eventually see some really fucked up things if that were true. Like if it were actually possible to just have it generate pictures forever. Like if you simulated it and you could crank up the simulation pace and then have it essentially spit out, like somehow have it know that something resembled a cohesive picture. If you could do that over a long enough timeline, flicking on and you would probably be talking about like years, decades, centuries, depending on how fast it could or could not be done. But you could be talking about eventually seeing like a picture. You could see a picture that looked like it was from a Pixar movie. You could see a picture that looked like it was a photograph taken of Ted Bundy and one of his victims, and him in the middle of the crime. You could, you could, you know, Green River Killer picture pops up just completely at random. That's possible. Unlikely, but on a long enough timeline, you know, with enough variations, you could probably do it. So it's, I don't know where I was going with that thinking, but it's like that, you know. Again, so that would be a whole, like, it would be a weird whole ethical debate, like, and that would totally be a debate that people would misconstrue. They'd be like, he's basically trying to justify, or somebody's trying to justify like actual consumption of real stuff. And it's like, no, I'm kind of soft on the concept of what is indiscernible from real material. Although some absolutists out there would say, well, if it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. So even though it looks basically indistinguishable from a photograph, that should be fair game because it's not real. It's like, that's a discussion to be had, to be sure. I'm not entirely sure that I fall on one side or the other of that. I have mixed feelings because you could make arguments that say, well, when it gets to that level, when it's essentially, it could be used as a cover for actual material, whatever. But you could also say that that's opening the door to saying, okay, well, now that we're on that one, let's go to the next thing. So not indiscernible from realistic, but let's go to very realistic, and then we'll go down to kind of realistic, and then we go down to not very realistic at all, and then so the question becomes the slippery slope, fallacious argument. Anyways, I'm gonna tempt myself into continuing this conversation, and I really, really, really do have to go to bed. So, a discussion for another time, to be sure. I hope it's given you some pause for thought, but ultimately, it's as long as it's not illegal in the sense that it actually involves abuse of certain individuals who are real people, violations of rights. I would say that, especially if, I believe mine's is in America, so if you're talking about a company in the United States, you really don't have a leg to stand on. You really don't have a moral leg to stand on. And if this is, and that's in the best case, if you're specifically talking about the specific type of material. If you're not, if you're just talking about lewdness in general, well, then you can go get fucked. Because it's like, there's an NSFW filter, and once everything's NSFW'd, you don't have to see it anymore. And that's that. It'll eventually solve itself. I mean, most lewd posters won't even miss you. You could flip the not safe for work filter on, and instant bliss. There is your fucking magical your magical switch, the NSFW filter. Of course, as I pointed out just recently there in the last few minutes, I'd say like 15, 20 minutes ago, about the other person, it's kind of suspicious that these people are always like, well, no, I have to go wading into this material. I know, it's like the other person that he uses as the example say, oh no, I have to go looking for threats, people making threats at me, I have to go looking for those. And it's like these people like, oh no, I have to go searching out these accounts posting this lewd material because matrad faith, matradism, matradliness. Like, at a certain point, that's your fault. That's your responsibility. You can't get mad at somebody participating in activities with other people, consenting people, because again, you have to consent. And so it's like you kind of lose the argument when it's like, when essentially it comes down to flipping on the switch that says, hey, by the way, this filter prevents you from seeing all not safe for work material. So if you don't want to see anything that would be potentially offensive, probably of a sexual nature, then hey, here you go, here's the filter, just leave this on. And you're like, no, I have to turn this off. Well, now you've consented. It's kind of the difference between like something like that and public sex. Like I once heard this really good kind of criticism of public sex, because it's like, yes, in a sense, public sex is just sex between two consenting people, until somebody else sees it. In which case you have unwillingly invited, violated that person's space, more or less, by involving them in this sort of voyeurism that they didn't want to be a part of. So if you're having sex on a stage, and it's just like somewhere where there's a note that says, hey, if you go through here, you may see people having sex. Like there's some district known for people having sex, but going in there, you have to consent to begin with. That may be part of the deal. Yeah, you could make the argument. Okay, well, yeah, you may have walked by us boning in an alleyway, but you're in essentially adult Disneyland or something like that. You paid, you bought a ticket. And the rules state very clearly that there are no rules here against public sex. Like any consenting legal adults can begin boning in the middle of the street, and that coming here. As long, so that's the difference between that and the not safe for work tag. Like you can't claim having bought the ticket to like in that example, having bought the ticket to adult Disneyland. Well, I didn't know that was going to happen. You kind of did. Flipping that switch, you kind of did. So that's about it. I'm going to get to bed. I really need to get rest. I really need to get up early, probably get some coffee, get my head straight, get ready for this big moment in my life. And my fingers are crossed that the nerves go down and that I'm ready for this. If you're a praying person, or if you want to keep me in my thoughts and hope for me and fingers crossed, or whatever it is, however it is you want to try and wish me well, or just wish me well, just flat out say, hey, good luck. You're welcome to. Especially, I hope later on, anybody watching this, it's like, man, remember when you were so nervous that day that you got in there and you got your promotion? Aren't you so happy, and you were so worried about over nothing? I'm praying that that's where we end up. I think that's a perfect place to end it. Just all of it wrapped up in a nice little bow right there. Even though I said that before, but I'm really seriously going to end it now. So thank you for watching. Thank you for the hopes and prayers. Anybody who does, we'll see how it turns out. Hopefully we can look back on this, at another video where I've got the computer upgraded and I've got my promotion and I've got, I've got good news and all of this silliness war against lewd posting is well behind us. But I'm going to get out of here. I think I've made all the points and all the updates that I need to make, so I'm going to get out of here. So thank you for tuning in, or tuning in later at a future date. I will see you all out there, and take her easy. Whatever you do.